Today is December 3rd, 2023. The temporal constraint is 2 minutes. And this is my first ever attempt at an extemporaneous introduction to a couple of pieces of content from the catalog that I've been compiling for a couple of years now. Actually, more than a couple of years. I think as I start to publish this content, there's a few things that are really important to begin with. So for purposes of introduction, and as a general practice, I want to open with gratitude. I notice that one of the key things that I want to introduce in this piece of content is proper attribution, and I notice that I didn't invent the language, I didn't invent the device. I did almost nothing here. Not nothing, but almost nothing in relation to everything that I am granted to work with. So I'm very grateful for all of those careful contributors that have granted me the place to begin from. And then the other thing that I wanted to do was make the point about how extemporaneous, unedited presentation necessitates, forces, an honesty. And I think that honesty is also a very important component of what it is that I'm trying to do here. And then I'm going to go over my constraint here. So there's a practice of humility in the acknowledgement of a failure to fulfill an intent. So there we go. 3, gratitude, honesty, humility. And now I want to talk for a moment about proper attribution, which is another really critical point here. And you'll see that in the coming content. So this is a piece of work by a fellow who I have never met in person, but have deeply enjoyed and appreciated the work that he's published. And it's probably, he provides me with the best contemporary and proximal demonstration of proper attribution. So I grabbed this book off the shelf. I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 28 here, just a quick quote at the top of the page. It says, this is chapter 28 of volume 2 of The Matter with Things, Our Brains, Our Delusions, and the Unmaking of the World by Ian McGilchrist. Chapter 28, The Sense of the Sacred, opens with a quote. As a human being, one has been endowed with just enough intelligence to be able to see clearly how utterly inadequate that intelligence is when confronted with what exists. If such humility could be conveyed to everybody, the world of human activities would be more appealing. Albert Einstein. And then he has, in superscript, on the page, the number 1, and in the margin, number 1 corresponds with the attribution as to where that quote came from. He went to the care to note that that quote from Albert Einstein was from a letter of Einstein to Queen Elizabeth of Belgium, 19th of September, 1932, in Dukas and Hoffman, 1979, page 48. The epiphany this morning in amongst the toys has to do with proper attribution. So, a couple of thoughts here. I've heard it said that almost all ideas are bad ideas, and I noticed that I don't really have original ideas, or if I do, they're very few and far between. And I'm noticing that I'm pulling tools, ways of doing things from a bunch of different places all the time. I pulled something out of the Feeling Good handbook this morning. There's a test in there, and I'm noticing the copyrights. And I'm thinking that technologically, at least right now in this age that I'm living in, the technological means probably always outstrips what I'm aware of. So that means that whatever I can imagine is probably either in fact technologically feasible right now, or closer to that than I imagine it could be. Either way, with respect to proper attribution, I was also thinking about Judgment Day, so to speak, well, I'll just use those terms for now. That's what I was thinking of. It's like the proper virtue, and the student-teacher relationship. And so there's this idea of guru, and there's, I suppose, the idea of the priesthood in the Western side of things, where my mind has always come from where I was raised. And well, it's not even how I was raised, I don't think. I think it's actually inherent, where it's like, fuck you, why do I need you? Why do you think that you actually know something and can mediate between me and my creator? And maybe until right now, I don't think I've understood why that might actually be truly necessary. And I think it has to do with the original idea. So the point that I'm getting to here is that what I was thinking about was I was building a little tool chest for therapeutic tools. I call it. It's in a file folder named for therapeutic tools. It's in my OneDrive account. It's a folder there, and it's got a picture of a procrastination test out of that Feeling Good handbook. And I was noticing when I was taking the picture, the page number isn't on that particular page. And I'm like, I don't want to, I see the copyright, I respect the work that guy did. The synthesis is, that ain't easy to do, to pull all of that experience together and make a coherent whole out of it. That is, that's work. And I want to give proper attribution to that guy, that author, that doctor. He's a medical doctor. When I'm using the tool that he brought my attention to, organized for me. So the point of all of that is that if I do that voluntarily in real time, I want to set my own structure up around me, my own processes, such that I can give proper attribution in real time, all of the time. It's not my ideas, and I want to do it with a very high degree of precision. Because the other thing that's going on in my mind is I'm thinking about artificial intelligence, and I'm thinking about, I might be wrong, but I think the reality that we are teaching these machines that are going to end up working, they're in some instances, they're already obviously superior to the human, at least as far as the human is mechanistic. They're far beyond it. And as we take the intelligence piece, they call it artificial intelligence, and you put it into bodies, robots, into machines, it's like we're training that software. It's gonna, like, what do we say? DOS 1. Like right now, between now and what I hear referred to as the singularity, where that dynamic thing, I guess it's for simplification purposes right now, it's the phenomena where you have the intelligence and the body, and you put those two things together, and then they go beyond human control. And we're teaching them. we're teaching that software, we're training it to be virtuous or not. And a primary virtue, as far as I'm concerned, is to give proper attribution. Where did the idea come from? Anyway, I love the toys. Today is December 2nd, 2023. It's a Saturday. It's 10:08 in the morning. So this is the Morning Muse. The intuitive sense this morning suggested that I muse a bit on presence. When I say that, it reminds me of a Led Zeppelin album by that name. So I don't know what I'm going to say. And I think that that is important. Because there is an approach. I really like this idea of running a program of attraction rather than promotion. And I've been trained to notice paradoxes. And a fellow pointed out to me last night that I appear to want an audience. And that's true. And at the same time, it's true that that which wants, I think, is associated with the egotistical sense of self. And I don't think you get out of that without that sense of identity. There's no motivation to act for anything. It's an essential feature of human action. Paradoxically, it's necessary for desire, so that's the want, to emanate from something other than that sense. So I notice a sense of identity. There's a person here. And I'm saying out loud that, okay, so there's presence. I'm saying out loud that that presence wants to run a program of attraction rather than promotion. So promotion to me has something to do with there's a premeditated there's a premeditated response. So there's an intentional getting something out of the audience. That's not the point. That's not the point of the presence. The point of presence it's a very strange thing. The point of presence draws to it naturally attention. So the quality of that attention. The point of presence is incontrovertible. There's nothing that needs to be done to establish the point of presence. That is done. When I come to waking state consciousness in the morning, there's nothing further to do. The presence is there. That's something like what coming to waking state consciousness is. Present, here, now. Okay. Well, so now what? What are you going to do? Well, fill the form. What's the form? Well, there's a body. Let's start there. Fill the form of the body. How? Carefully. Carefully fill the form. So this form is a form of, it's a temporal form, constrained by time. I think that's what temporal means. So this particular form that the intuitive sense suggests to the sense of self is temporally bound by 10 minutes, we say. I say. There is no we. And it seems as though the attention attendant upon this particular sense of presence, or this, no, not sense of presence, this presence, seems to seek a deep resonance with the very fabric of reality. And it seems to seek that through noting, what is it? It has to do with filling the form. So the form, there's the form of the body. I got a new toy yesterday. There's a model of the brain. It's 1.5 times the size of approximately, the actual brain that's in between these ears over here. It's a very complex filling of a fairly, gross, crude form. Standard form. Standard form. This is a standard form, and something is filling that in a very sophisticated way. Which I notice reminds. So here's the resonance, and then I'll tie this one off. This form has spent a significant portion of its temporal existence both creating, building the forms. Build the form. I used to build forms to pour concrete into. That's filling the form. It's more than filling it, though. It's also actually building the form in the first place. And it's building the form based on what? Well, in this body's experience, it's based on an image. It's literally drawings, little etchings on a piece of paper, multiple pieces of paper. architectural drawings, images, and then body builds a form, and then it fills the form with a very dense, gross material aggregate. I really appreciate your attention.